everybody. Welcome to PVD Horror. This is Dave. I'm here with my co-host Brandon, and today we're recapping BlerdCon 2025. And to help us, we got some friends. We got our new friends, AJ and Kristie from In Love with Horror. They're writers, film critics. And we also got our old friend, Mr. Mark O. Estes of Midnight Social Distortion. And we are going to cover it all. I unfortunately did not get to go there, but Brandon was lucky enough to be able to make the drive down and get to meet all of you fine people in person, which is pretty awesome. So I'm very jealous and I can't wait to hear all about it. So yeah, let's kick this off, Brandon.
Yeah. So this was my first time going down to BlerdCon. So, I was talking to Mark for a little bit, and so I was trying to get him on the episode we had with Karen Parsons, and then he was like, "Dude, I'm going to BlerdCon." I was like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Actually, you know what? I'm like, I have a funeral that I have to attend down in Baltimore." I'm like, "How far away is that?" And he was just like, my geography ain't good." So I had to throw in the map quest, I mean, not well, yeah, the Google and look how far away it was, and it was about an hour away. And I was like, yo, Mark, it's only an hour away. I hit up BlerdCon, got a press pass. I'm like, I'm gonna come down for Sunday because I think it's really important, you know what I mean? When we, like horror content creators, conventions and everything like that, just to network and meet, all creators and stuff is really important because it's just like sometimes we just have that phone, you know what I mean? So it was really good meeting Mark for the first time and AJ and Kristie. Um, Big fans of your content. So it was like, it's really important to just, get together and meet each other. So I really appreciated that time at that convention. But this is your second year, Mark, right?
Yeah,
At BlerdCon, could you touch on a little bit about BlerdCon's history?
BlerdCon, if I'm not mistaken, started in I want to say 2016, 2017, around that time.
Mm,
It's always been in DC. This was the first year they had it in March. Usually it is done in July. And for the past 3 years, I have seen, Girl That's Scary, Bloody Massacre, Nightmare on Fear Street, People Under the Scares, all those content creators go to BlerdCon every summer. They'll post pictures of them all together. And then Jazz and Kat from Girl That's Scary was like, Mark, where you at? Like, what's the point up here? And I was like, in that mentality of, oh, I have bills. I can't be out here lollygagging and stuff. And Sheree told me, she said, hell, I almost got bills. What I'm saying?
yeah.
I have to tell her to come. So last year I made it my duty to come because I want to travel, but I don't travel as often. So
Mm.
I was trying to figure out a way to do it, and all of them were like, Mark, just do a panel. Like, just do a panel. I'm like, oh shit, me in front of people? Hell no. Mark, do the panel and then come up here because that cuts off some of the cost of coming. And so I said, oh,
Mhm.
fine, I'll do a panel. So last year I did a panel on Black queer characters in horror. And I purposely made it late at night because I didn't know how graphic I was going to be talking. Because y'all know my mouth, it can be very sailor. I mean, my folks are not sailors, but we have the mouths of sailors. So
Mm.
I don't want to be offending anybody's kids or anybody, whatnot. So I did the panel last year, had a blast, and got to experience that nasty ass heat that I've been hearing about. And so last year's heat was just, I'm gonna just make it real quick. I stayed at the Marriott Courtyard, which was further down from the Hilton where we had to go
Mhm.
to. Imagine walking in that heat and just and it's pouring down. You got a backpack on your back, missing the shuttles and shit. And I was like, I'm not doing this again next year. I'm gonna get a closer hotel. But
Mm.
I even thought about like opting out the next year, even though I had so much fun. But we got to the closing ceremony, and Girl That's Scary had shut it down again with Bloody Massacre. They made that announcement. They made two announcements. One, that next year's con was going to be in March. I said, okay, that's doable, I guess.
Mhm.
Coat. Then they sat there and said, our theme next year is going to be thriller. And I looked at everybody and said, oh, we have to come back next year. Oh, shit, we have to come back. And they're like, oh, we were already to come back. You need to bring your ass back. And so I was like, okay, yeah. So I did a part two to the Black queer characters in horror panel. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was just me going there and just seeing all these, black people in a safe space cosplaying and being, blurs. And
Yeah.
growing up from somewhere where you did not get that, like I was the odd one out. Like, Mark, why do you like all this weird shit? But seeing that not only that other people liked it, but they liked it and took it to another level than thought I was. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Very freeing experience.
Yeah.
So
That's dope.
Can I AJ, Kristie, Mark, can I ask you all a question to see what your thoughts are about this? How would you define a blurred for somebody who maybe doesn't know the term or isn't familiar with the community? What would be how you would describe it or describe yourself, I guess?
I just usually say black nerd. You know what I'm saying? It's like a black nerd. It feels because so many people tend to, even this past weekend, somebody was talking about in the BlerdCon Facebook group that they got accosted for wearing for cosplaying as a anime character, and it was like, oh, black folks don't do that. Black folks don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you take black and nerd and put it together, I feel like it, for me personally, it empowers me to be like, not only am I black, but I'm blackly black and also a black nerd. So I'm a nerd as well. So because nerd used back then used to be very derogatory. Anybody got called nerd, no matter what race you were, it was just like, you don't want that. But now a lot of people take it as a badge of honor. So I just take, me being black and me being a nerd as badge of honor. I just push the motherfuckers together and blur, But everybody has their own meaning, and I would love to hear what AJ and Kristie have to say.
Yeah, I agree with Mark on a lot of different things. For me, definitely blurred, right? A black and a nerd, and I grew up. I'm old enough to have grown up in an era where being a nerd was a bad thing, right? Especially
Yeah.
being black and being in the
Yep.
anime or being in the horror or anything that was outside of the scope of the black culture, which really centered around the hip hop culture, and that the sports and things like that. If you were dabbling outside of that, it's like, oh, like black people don't do that type of stuff. So a blur, man, being a black person and being a nerd, it's like, and then using the term blurred, it creates a community, right? It's like, oh, like I didn't know, and then we can get to it once we start talking about BlerdCon. It's like, wow, like I didn't know there was this many, blurs, and seeing
Yeah.
everybody into anime, cosplay, and doing all that stuff. Like I was just so taken aback because of how I grew up and not really being able to really demonstrate and show the type of stuff that I was into. I kind of had to like play that keep it close to the chest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even to this day, I'll do it sometimes. But certain music I listen to, and I'll play something, but I'll tell Kristie, hey, look, now don't be telling people I listen to this. You know what I'm saying? But it's just how I grew up. You know what I'm saying? So going to BlerdCon, seeing other blurs,
Yeah.
and like seeing that community of a black nerd and just being open. And just showing, what you are truly passionate about and having no fear of, being told like, oh, you're black, you can't be into that. You know what I'm saying? So we're establishing that community, taking the foothold and being like, hey, we're here, we're into this, and it's okay. It's cool.
I think the biggest thing you said too was like, it's our kind of community, because I feel like when you just blanket, oh, this is nerd culture. Like if you try to come in on that, it's like, oh, this isn't for you. So a lot of times we have to like proclaim and declare like, okay, this is us, this is ours. Okay, so y'all got your stuff. Okay, that's okay. We like this too, so we're gonna build our own community around that, and it's just creating that safe space for us to thrive and show our passion about these things that people seem to like gatekeep for themselves.
Sure. Yep. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I like what you guys are explaining, because like it actually provides a little bit more context to me too, because it sounds like not only are you identifying as nerds, but also like you said, like there's also within the community of African Americans kind of like that association with being a nerd might have a different context because of like you were saying like the hip hop culture and like kind of like going kind of against that. So there's multiple layers there, and I think that's why there's that the additional term of blurred is appropriate and necessary to kind of identify even within that community. So because I think sometimes you get that pushback from outside populations like, oh, why do you need an extra term, or why do you need to identify it as that? and that provides a lot of context to that. So thank you guys for sharing
Yeah.
that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the same thing, like for me, like for but like AJ touched on, like growing up in the area, you know what I mean, growing up in the section where I was born and everything, and then raised, nerd definitely wasn't like the vibe, you know what I mean? And so I think over the years, as you got older, like I enjoy playing video games, watching horror movies, and Dave, we have these conversations all the time, kind of like how horror we were looked at like we're crazy because we enjoy watching horror
Oh yeah,
films. You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? Like
Yeah.
somebody sees my legs and my tattoos, I have like horror tattoos and shit, and people are like, you're crazy. Like, why do you like that stuff? But it was just like how it was raised. You know what I mean? Like me and my grandmother liked watching horror films together. So she passed away. So it was like a tribute to her. I have a bunch of like some of the my favorite characters and stuff that I enjoyed watching with her. And getting into the social media area of everything and kind of like just pushing myself out there as enjoying horror. Like I didn't care. I think you guys follow Anthony the Dreamer, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So back in probably like 2015, when I seen him started posting content like horror stuff that he like, I was just like, oh shit. Like I never really seen anyone like myself posting their love for horror. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start doing that shit because I really don't give a fuck no more. You know what I mean? Because and then so
Yep.
like we had him on and I told him, I was like, yo, dude, I'm like, I really stepped out of my box because I seen you doing it and then I never seen anybody else doing it. And so I think that BlerdCon is definitely like the step in that right direction for everybody to come out of their, you know, the element of just kind of like hiding what they love, you know what I mean, and putting on the forefront of everything and just enjoying who you are and things that you love to do. And so just me coming for on Sunday kind of showed that, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Everybody was just having a good time and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Absolutely.
when I first ran across you, Brandon, I was like, he's experiencing what I experienced last year because it was so much
Mm,
to take in. Because
yeah.
like I was talking to you, you was like, yeah, yeah. Like, 'cause you was like taking it all in, like,
Yep.
yo, this is actually real. Like
Hmm.
is this is what's up. Like my so I got it when you came in. I was like, I'm so glad he got to come, and I'm so glad that Kristie, AJ, I'm glad y'all got to come. I'm glad that y'all did a panel. And I told a few other people that we interact with, I'm like, so you're coming next year, right? It's not like are you
Yep.
coming? It's like you're coming next year, right? Like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm gonna see you. Because that's how I got brought in. It was like, yeah, Mark, whatever, you coming next year. I'm like, I don't you coming, just figure it out. And I'm glad. So hopefully next year, Brandon, you could, come again as well. So
Definitely. Yeah, because I would like to come for the whole experience. You know what I mean? I came Sunday and I appreciate you coming. You give me like the little tour around everywhere, showing me everyone and just kind of locking everything in because I think, like you said, I was with my daughter. And so just coming in, it can be like overwhelming at the first time being in a convention like this. And so not really knowing everybody, and then you coming in and just saying, "Hey, here we got this right here, we got that." I'm like, "All right, easy, cool." So it was a cool experience. But for everybody out there that doesn't know about BlerdCon, it typically focuses on like cosplay contests, concerts, gaming, tournaments, panels, and vendors and workshops. They had a like 24-hour gaming room. AJ, Kristie,
Yep.
can you just talk about just your experience coming in and like just for the first time?
Did you want to start? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I can go first, I guess. Nah, I had a similar reaction like Brandon did, where,
Hmm.
and you'll remember when we went back to our room after that first, like we came out and we took a break back into our room that first day because we got in super late on Friday, and then Saturday was like the first day we really got to experience the con. And I told Kristie, I was like, wow, like I ain't never seen this many black people in
Hmm.
cosplay, but doing video games at a Dance Dance Revolution machine. I was like, I didn't even know there was this many black people that was into this type of stuff
Yeah.
because, I grew up liking this stuff and then kind
Hmm.
of, internalizing it to some degree. And I was just like, dang, it's just cool to see black people just
Mhm.
out and just, showing their love for all these various different things that are associated with being a nerd, from the cosplay stuff to the video games to with it being thriller. There's a lot of horror related stuff, all the different horror related things. And just getting a chance to meet everybody too. Like it was super cool to meet everyone, meet Brandon, meet Mark, and just meet, all the people that we talked to online, and just kind of reinforcing that community element where it's like, yo, we all family, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that was just the whole experience of BlerdCon, was like this welcoming feeling where it's like everybody's family, we coming together and just having a good time. And it was just super dope.
Yeah. And I do want to say, like, it's not only Black people, it's
True. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
anybody is welcome to come. Like, it's not like, oh, you ain't Black, you can't come in type of thing. Everybody is welcome. We did do a panel, and we had it was a diverse crowd of people
Yeah,
that came
it
to our
was.
panel. But yeah, it's like exclusively inclusive or something like that. I can't remember
Yeah.
the terms, but basically everybody is welcome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's just all about like appreciating and celebrating the Blackness within the nerd culture. So if you can appreciate that, then you are welcome to attend.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
God, I
glad
felt I had
you
the same feeling. Like,
I'm
I
glad you
actually got
said that,
emotional.
Kristie.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Because that was the first thing I asked Brandon when he came back and he was giving me the rundown. I was like, well, if I were to go with you next year, do you think I'd be comfortable, welcomed, all that stuff, just to make sure? I mean, I kind of already knew what the answer was going to be, because I know Mark goes, and like I don't think Mark would ever be a part of. Mark's such a good guy; he would never be a part of something that wasn't inclusive. I know that about
Right.
him.
Right.
So, but like Brandon was like, yeah, no, it's for everybody, and I'm glad you just said that, just for everyone that's listening and watching to know that, like, it's an inclusive event. But like, yeah, you're exactly right. It's about showing appreciation for Black culture, and
Mhm.
Black celebrities, whatever. But just, and that, for someone like me, that's always been something I've had an interest in. I probably talk about that more than makes sense at times. But yeah, so I'm glad you did mention that. Thank you.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It
'Cause I
is-
think every panel we went to, I mean, there was nothing in there that made us feel like, oh, this is, not for everybody. Like,
Yeah.
there
Right.
was
No.
no feeling, no vibe whatsoever like that in anything that we did the whole weekend.
Right. And there's this one guy who I recognize from last year, and he comes to every panel, and he's a hoot. I don't know the guy's name, but he was at Brandon Espy's panel, and he was talking about Mr. Crockett, and he was talking about Brandon Espy's other short films that he did before Mr. Crockett. And he also partook in Tyrone and Jaleesa's Black Ass Decisions panel. Even though he was white, he still got up there and gave and we sat there and cheered him on and everything like that. It's like, but it's like Kristie said, exclusive, inclusive. So like you said, I forgot it just that quick, but it's on the badge. It's on the badge. So, but yeah, when I told Brandon, you coming back next year, right? I was talking about both of y'all. I was just saying that Brandon coming back. I'm like, no, y'all both need to bring y'all asses back down here.
Yeah, I was telling Dave, I was like, yeah, because he was like, you think I can go? I was like, shit, Mark wants us to do a panel, so yeah, I think you good.
Yeah.
You got the
Oh,
pass.
that'd be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure
Nah.
out something.
Yeah, so just even looking forward and everything to next year, they already dropped, like the news for everything. I left the last, I had to leave so I can get on the road, but they made the announcement. So I guess 2026 is gonna be like a Geek Nick inspired by Freak Nick, and the VIP
Nice.
tickets are already sold out.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
VIP is gone.
Go.
Yes, and I was so devastated because them damn VIP ticket holders, they get a lot of nice swag. I wanted half the bags they had like this past year. I'm like, I
They do
want
got some
one.
nice swag.
Yeah.
And they were not playing. I think even the hotel blocks, I've been hearing conflicting reports that some of them are already booked. And what that means is the Hyatt Regency, which is the host hotel for BlerdCon, those rooms are already gone, if I'm not mistaken. But
Wow.
the courtyard next to it, I think they still have some rooms available. I'm gonna try for the Holiday Inn, which is across the street, across the road, that I had this year because it was right beside a 24-hour McDonald's, and that was just everything. So I'm gonna try for that, but you can also try the Hilton again, because I know a lot of people did get rooms in the Hilton. So there's a little history behind that because the courtyard right next door to the Regency used to hold all the spillover panels and badge pickup and everything like that. But I guess because they changed to March, and Hilton was probably the only place in the area to do all the spillover stuff. So you have to walk like half a block. And y'all know my stuff is screwed. Would y'all say that was a block or a half a block from the Regency?
Yeah, it was about half a block.
Okay, because a lot of people they complained like, why I gotta walk all the way down here to the Hilton? I said, at least we're not walking down to the past go to the
it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I needed them.
I will say, I think we won't stay at the Hyatt again because it was just it was bumping all night, like till like 4 a.m.
But you know what it is too. I think people were also probably complaining because it was just so cold. So it's probably like, I got to go back outside.
Yeah,
and, walk all the way to this hotel.
But my thing with the Hyatt, the situation this year, because a lot of people was complaining about it being cold because they're like, we can't please y'all. Because last year y'all was complaining about how hot it was. And so I was like, I damn near died last year. I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack to the hotel because everybody like, Mark, just catch a shuttle. And I'm like, I missed the shuttle because the shuttle always runs at the top of the hour. So if your panel started at 2:30 and I missed that damn shuttle, I'm gonna miss your panel. So I need to track it up there to catch your panel. And I would come in, I would be like, I would just my shower at my old hotel last year was just it was just like I was in there just like, oh yes. By the time I got to y'all's panel, I would feel like I had ran like the Hunger Games. Just so I constantly showered that entire time. But I feel like by being a little bit cooler this year, it was cold as fuck. I feel like put layers and not have to go back and know, because the one thing about people that I noticed when it comes to any type of con, they talked about it in the BlerdCon Facebook group. Like one girl made this joke. She said, all y'all behaved this year. Everybody smelled great. And I guess folks were just walking around just funky. You know what I'm saying? Because there was like, I think even the guy who hosted the Hilton, I forgot, Hilton George is over the BlerdCon thing. He even made a joke. He said, hey, those beauty bars, that's not actual soap. Y'all need to actually use soap.
That's always a concern at the cons, though, Brandon.
Conventions are crazy. I was at a New York Comic Con. I was like, God damn. I was like, you gotta be kidding me right now, bro.
Bro. So but I just think that it should, I think March is okay. You just, just come prepared to
That's the key. That's the key. And that's funny because we were about to walk out of the door. We was like, should we bring the big coat? No, we don't need that.
I was just like y'all, Kristie, AJ, because I was like, my mom was like, she called me. She said, did you take your big coat? I was like, this thing is heavy. To take around. I don't be carrying it all around. And I said, this should have brought out the bear. I called the bear. I should have brought the bear.
Yeah. Now, AJ and Kristie, like I said, it's a pleasure having you both on. We appreciate your content and enjoy seeing a couple discuss horror films. Can you tell us how you guys came up with In Love with Horror?
Ooh.
So you
me.
You like to say that.
Whatever. Anyways, well, we had been trying to come up with something that we could do together. Well, it was mostly me, but I was like, we should do something together, like a YouTube channel, a podcast, we were trying to think of different ideas. We already like to watch like movies together. Like we have some fandoms that we're a part of. Horror isn't the only thing that we're into. Like we were talking, we could talk about, I don't know, Star Wars or Marvel, or we were trying to figure out what would be a good niche for us. But we don't really agree on a lot of different things. But we do both enjoy horror movies, and so that's usually where we agree most out of the different things. So we did a review yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Opus, and we were on two complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
True, we were.
Yeah.
So for the most part, we agreed. So we were
what was it for?
Horror. And then obviously say it again.
What was it for that you guys did the review?
Oh, Opus.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was actually a good one because I think that's what I like about our content is like we just keep everything genuine. So like a lot of times there are times where we don't agree on the film, and so
Yeah.
we'll have discussions about that. Like that's what I love about our content. It's just so real. It's authentic.
Yeah.
We don't bandwagon. We just give you the real on how we feel about films. But I don't know if you're going to say something else.
I don't remember now, but we talk on our videos in our podcasts like we talk at home.
Right.
Yeah.
So it started off as couple building. You were trying to
Yeah.
find a way to
Exactly.
strengthen the relationship, keep things going, and you came up with In Love with
Yeah.
Horror, and you make great horror content. So that's awesome.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
That's a great story.
And our
right there.
panel at BlerdCon was about how Black love shows up in horror films. So
Sure.
we kind of like walked through different horror movies that have like Black couples and how their relationship shows up through the film and stuff like that. So it was really cool. We did it with Jaleesa and Tyrone from Evil Vive.
Okay.
Are they? I think it still go by that, but because I know
Yeah,
they
the Evils.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
yeah, we did a collaborative panel together about that, so that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I had just come in and I had missed that because I was sitting there. I'm like, damn, I need to hurry up and get in there. I got a parking because I was sitting there trying to get a parking spot, and it was just like, yeah, parking's full. And then I was like, all right, where can I park? And one of the girls was like, hey, it's Sunday, there's free parking, find a spot. So I'm like, all right. So I got my daughter with me. I go to the main hotel. I'm like, all right, I'm here. I need to get my press pass. They're like, oh, you need to walk down the street to the other hotel. I'm like,
Oh
you gotta
man.
be kidding me right now. So I just texted Mark. I was like, Mark, I gotta go to the other hotel. And so I'm going down. I went and got everything I needed to get checked in. I'm walking out, and that's when I ran into Mark. He's like, "Yeah, you missed it." I'm like, "Come on, man." I'm like, "Shit." I wanted to see that because you know, what I mean, it was only so much I could see for that day,
Yeah.
and that was on the top of the list. So I was just like, "Damn." And then I ran into you guys, and I was just like, "Damn," you know, and told you guys just like the experience and everything that was going on. But like you said, you guys focused. You did Black Love and Horror. Can you share which couples were part of your panel's focus?
We did uh the couple Dimitri and Naya from the first Purge.
Mm.
And we chose
Anthony.
yes,
and
Anthony and what's her name?
is it Brianna?
Yes, Brianna from the new Candyman, the 2021
Okay.
Candyman. The Evils chose Ganja and Hess and Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, Max and Rita.
Max and Rita, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we also kind of like just talked a little bit about like different things we want to see more of in horror and things we want to see less of in horror.
Okay.
So like, you know, more queer relationships because a lot of times they're single and not really like together in a relationship with someone. It's very rare. And like a family, like a Black family, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's either a single mom or the dad is dead.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, things like that. So we kind of like talked about that too.
That's dope. Now, Mark, you moderated a panel Saturday night that delved into Black queer characters in horror. Continuing on from your conversation from last year, now with your second year, can you provide some examples on characters you explored?
I this year I updated my panel from last year to include I'm trying to think of the most recent queer character that I came across. It was one character from Simon and Sylvia. Some of these movies I haven't seen yet, but I know that they're Black and queer. Simon and Sylvia was one of them. I also I expanded on what Kristie and AJ was talking about the lack of queer relationships or Black queer love in general, because I was like, you know, Black queer people are usually paired with a white person or a person of color.
Yeah.
I call
Yeah.
that like checkbox, you know,
Yeah.
casting, which is like, you know, we get a person of color, we have a Black queer person, you know, we're very inclusive with our movie. And it's just like, yeah, but you know, what's wrong with y'all having two Black queer people in a horror film? You know what I'm saying? Another character I brought up was what I actually brought him up last year was Tunde Johnson, and how that movie, The Obituary of Tunde Johnson, was very, it upset me, and look for the episode coming up real soon, because his entire existence was wrapped around this closeted white guy. And the movie is about him getting shot by the police after he just come out to his parents, and he has to relive that moment over and over again throughout the movie. But every time he comes back, he is like, it reveals something about the relationship with this guy and his best friend, who is also dating the guy. So it's very messy. I brought up Prudence from Prudence and I would say Sebastian, but Prudence and Ambrose from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which was like the only Black queer couple that I know of that was very, popular, and they were both pansexual, but it was just the fact that they were like the most powerful couple on the show. So I did that, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all, Kristie and AJ, I cannot remember if y'all even came to the panel.
Yeah, we were there.
Okay, so that explains why I was completely toasted during the entire panel. I'm serious. And so to the point where I cannot even remember me talking to people at the panel. Like people tell me, oh yeah, I spoke to you. I'm like, you did? Like, so don't do that. Anybody who's out here listening, do not do that ever. That was just something for me to try to calm myself down, but I did it, I overdid it. So I'm trying to, but yeah, I talked about a lot of the who said what's the girl's name? Amanda Sandberg. Sandberg, but you know what I'm talking about. I can't pronounce her last name. She was in Bodies.
Okay.
And the new movie that she's out with. Is it like, it's not My Monster, but it's something.
It's the but with the werewolf film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how she's always paired with, somebody that is not Black in film and stuff like that. So that was pretty much the gist of my panel, but I really gravitated toward the lack of relationships with Black queer characters to have. We're like side characters, and we rarely get time to stand up and, like AJ and Kristie said, just like have a moment to ourselves. And when we do, it's usually rooted in some type of race narrative, or something dealing with where their significant other is not Black, and possibly the reason why they're in the situation they're in right now, and they don't communicate. So yeah,
it's so crazy because a lot of people in horror, we have a lot of Black people in horror now, and we had Jeffrey Reddick, the creator of Final Destination, on the show a while back, and he was kind of talking about how he wanted to have a all Black cast film and how hard it is to even get it done. But I think he's almost at that point, right, Dave? Like he's almost got it set to where he needs it to be, but it's just it's not easy, and so it's like it's so crazy now. We're having all these other films coming up. I think we have The Woman in the Yard that's coming out, and like you guys touched on too, with the father being dead. You know what I mean? That's the big narrative that's inside that film. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it's hard, and I think that we're there with like a lot of independent films are starting to get it done, and I think that it'll be cool soon to have it more on the big screen. So
as you were saying that, Kristie, the only actual film I could think of that came to mind about like a Black family was Us. I can't really think of any other movie that has like an intact Black family.
I actually couldn't find one either. There's one in the show Them, the first season.
Okay,
but yeah,
that comes with its own baggage, So it's like, it's like you get it. Even Lovecraft Country had a family, but if you spoil it for those who have not delved into Lovecraft. Wait, is anybody over here saying Lovecraft Country?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't?
Oh, you never seen it?
No.
Okay, I'm just hoping it's just that kind of gives like a sense of Black family. You know what I'm saying? But it's not a complete family. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of like a community type family thing, but all these people in the show know each other, grew up with each other some type of way, and they all come from the same neighborhood. So that's the closest thing you can say. But yeah, I think Us is like the top one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
can I ask you guys a question? Is it important to you that Black characters, or if there's a film about a Black family, is it important for you that there's also like race related themes in there, or would you like to just see a film sometimes with Black characters that literally isn't always dealing with race related issues?
For you right there, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Bring
want to
it,
see just a
bring it.
film with just black
Yeah.
characters, you know,
Right.
with just
Yeah.
regular ass situations. Nothing. It does not have to be race related. It can just be just a regular
Yeah.
ass situation. That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly, because that's what I always tell people, like, you know, you can have your Get Out and have your, how do I put it? You can have like your Silence of the Lambs, but you can also have your Night of the Demons, where it's just like, you know, we want to have some shit. We go to a party, some shit pop off, and we just try to get the fuck up out of there. We don't want to have to constantly be
that.
like, you know, your skin tone. Like, no, we don't. We know we're black in America. We see this shit every day. I just want to go have some fun at a haunted house, and then somebody starts offering people and stuff like that, and just seeing how to make it out. You know what I'm saying? But you don't have to always be downtrodden and downtrodden. It don't have to be. I think Tanana Radu said it best. She said black horror does not always have to be about I would say racist. It doesn't have to be about, like, because she mentioned about them, how people talked about how them was so, it was torture porn to the degree where it was like, you know, you couldn't enjoy it because of all the
Just focus on all the trauma.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And she said you can have that, but it doesn't have to be only that. You know, she said
you can have both.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
One
definitely shout out to like Dallas Jackson. We had Dallas Jackson on years ago when he came out with Thriller. It was like his take on Prom Night that came on Netflix. You know what I mean? And he had an all black cast. You know what I mean? And that was cool. And now you see him. He's also and that was from Blumhouse. You know what I mean? And so they gave him that opportunity. And so now he wants to take it to the next level. And he's been doing all these other projects. You know what I mean? And so he has something coming up with TDE with you know, with Kendrick and them's like old label. So he's got a film coming out with them soon. So definitely stay on the lookout for that. So
Wasn't he also the first Purge, or was he Purge Election?
Nah, he wasn't in that.
He didn't do any of the Purge movies. I thought he was connected with one of the Purge films. My bad. Edit that out.
He said edit that out. he might knew somebody in there, but it worked and like knew them, the friendship and stuff. So
Mark, you said something too that resonated with me about like checking the boxes and all that. And I think that's something like important too. And not just with black characters, but like it's so obvious now, like how they're trying to make this like super diverse group of, you know, if it's a teen movie, like they're hitting every single kind of character trope. And we're like just recreating different types of stereotypes, like the movies that we complain about from, you know, like the 80s, where it was like the jock, the nerd, the like this and that. It's like Breakfast Club, but horror versions. And it's like just so silly that we feel we have to. It's like we're afraid to make a film that has like an only black cast or an only Asian cast. Like just I hate that we feel like we have to hit every single box, and it just becomes silly and like not authentic or genuine, it feels a lot of times.
Yeah, it's like certain films that have come out recently, even Scream 6. I mean, I love Scream 6, but I would say that the friend group in this movie, it was okay. I mean, it's like you can see them in college hanging out with each other. What I'm trying to say is just that, you know, in Scream 5, I was like, Jasmine Savoy's character, Mindy, I'm like, you know, yeah, I can understand Willsboro's kind of, you don't see too many black people in Willsboro, but you know, y'all but you go out to New York City, you go to college, and I guess somebody told somebody at Spyglass, like, you know, we never had an Asian person be in Scream. And instead of giving I'm not saying that the character, I forget the actress name who played Jasmine's girlfriend in that movie. I forget the character's name, which is bad. But I'm just saying, like, y'all not only put an Asian girl in the movie, but you made her, you know,
girlfriend of the
Asian
character. Yeah.
We did it. I'm like, she could have been just like a friend. She didn't have to be her girlfriend, or she could have just been a friend of the group. And Jasmine could have had a black girlfriend that probably was not in the center of attention. You know, it's just, and people were like, "Well, do you not like interracial relationships?" It's like, no, I perfectly love. I have family members that come from interracial relationships, but it's when you can tell that that's all they could. That's how only way they could tell their story is through an interracial lens. And it gets kind of to the point where it's like, y'all are, when it comes to horror, y'all are really scared to show black love. You know what I'm saying? And of any caliber. And like, even though we get stuff like the panel that Kristie and AJ just did, it showcased Black love, but like y'all said, y'all was pulling, from different things that was like giving us a positive representation of Black love, and not just we have a Black couple in the movie. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they're just there, but it's just like they extrapolated on, like, for instance, y'all brought up Anthony and Brianna. I fucking love their relationship in Candyman because
100%.
I can see that. It's like I can see y'all in there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all saw yourselves in there. It just, I wanted to see that. That's why I went to go see that movie 2 or 3 times for those two, because we don't get that enough. And when we do get it, it's either very toxic, even though some people say that was toxic, but there was some supernatural elements in there. Reason why it was toxic, but it was like they still loved each other despite all this shit they went through in the movie. She stuck with him to the end, and he came back from the dead to save her life. Shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But it's just when, we gotta have a diverse cast of people to, it's like, I'm okay with inclusivity and diverse cast, but it's just make it organic. Don't feel like it's like, we gotta put this person in the movie because we don't want nobody coming for our heads and anything like that.
Yeah.
If people disagree with me, please hit me up. Let's have a conversation about it. So
I feel, and I was telling you, Dave, because we just like did a Twin Peaks event, right? And so kind of was looking into it. I'm like, there's never been like a Black person in Twin Peaks. But then like if you sit there and you see the crowd that likes Twin Peaks, they're like, all right, but the Black people that love it, they're like, we don't really feel like we need to be in that. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole situation. Because and then you come, and I was looking into it a little bit more, and it was just like how like David Lynch, he just didn't want to mess up anything or make any Black characters kind of seem a certain way. I think he added some down in the line, right, Dave, inside one of the movies or the series.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if maybe The Return would have had any.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's like one of those things. I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
was
he
nothing.
didn't force it.
Yeah.
And maybe for him, it just wouldn't have felt authentic to something he could
do
create
it.
and make a realistic version of a character that felt real. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And then they crossed that over also with like he didn't feel like he could do that character justice. And then someone was talking about how Tim Burton also never used like Black characters in his films and stuff like that. And then somebody brought up and then said, look, then when he did, look at Beetlejuice when he put the fucking Soul Train in there, it was just like that was like you didn't do it justice. You didn't do it the right way. You forced it.
And it was kind of just like, here y'all go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did
You
it.
see, you can't. You can't.
God.
It's hard, and I think that it's hard coming from creators like that don't have that background. So it's like what I mean. It's really important for Black creators to be out there in the forefront, to be making these films, to sit there and portray us the way it's supposed to be done.
Right.
So,
I mentioned that in a podcast episode where I was like, when we do have Black people behind the scenes and not just not behind the lens, but also writing the script. Like Lovecraft Country is a perfect example of like various types of Black people. Even though some Black people had an issue with the portrayal of Montrose and other things that happened in Lovecraft Country, though, but it's like it's a beginning. It's like you can't please everybody, but at the same time, at least it came across as very authentic. And I say, like, if you have a Black character, I'm not saying that you shouldn't put Black characters in your film. It's just that don't have them live up to the tropes that people expect them to, like they, die first, or they sacrifice themselves for their friend, or they just, are you okay every 5 minutes? It's just, just have them in the movie, have them be authentic, talk to your actor or actress, what I'm saying? Like, what would this character do in this moment right here? You know what I'm saying? Have that conversation to be like, well, I think the character will actually do this. And if it doesn't like derail the entire story, let them be who they are. You know what I'm saying? Let them bring life to the character instead of saying like, I need you to hold her hand throughout the entire movie until you get off in the third act. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now
it's funny that you brought up Lovecraft Country because we didn't know that the actual book was written by a white man.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Until we went to his
we met him at Crypticon in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing was that he did say about how much research he did on his characters when writing them. And then
Yeah.
obviously Misha Green, you know, black woman, she came in and put her touch on
Yes.
everything and made it what it is.
Yes.
But you know, going back to what Brandon was saying earlier, like we have like films that have come out recently where specifically The Front Room. I could talk about this. I could do a dissertation on that movie.
Listen.
Where you know she is this character that Brandy plays it. You can tell they just put her up there because they wanted a black woman up there. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't fit. Like even the whole the dynamic with the relationship she had with her husband. Also, side note, why do we keep getting these raggedy tail husbands? Like imaginary, raggedy, front room, raggedy. These are not good counterparts for these women,
Right.
and it makes them look ridiculous on screen.
Right. And at my panel, I gave them a title because in Spiral, that Malik's Jeffrey Barrow Chapman's husband in Spiral was also raggedy, and he was so busy trying to be like accepted in because he was freshly out the closet, but he still wanted to maintain. He wanted to still have his, I guess, the life he had as a straight white man, but he wanted to like be like very cool with all the neighbors, and all the neighbors are plotting to kill them. And when Jeffrey Barrow always bring this up, he would be like, "Oh, you're crazy, you're just being paranoid." I'm like, Tanana Radu also said, if your spouse does not like, she said she wants to see more narrative where the spouse comes in and is like, you know, okay, honey, I hear you, or babe, I hear you. What we need to do next? Instead of being like, oh, you're paranoid and this, and that, because I call them a white anchor because that's like they're anchored. The person who is having all the horrific experiences done to them, they're suffering through it because they have this anchor that they cannot let go. Even in Hell House Origins.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Rebecca Vickers, it was like, girl, y'all are here on your dime. Get the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? Just leave them there and do what you need to do. Leave them there. And she's like, I can't leave. I'm like, you go find your brother who is clearly dead by this point. And it's just like, you can't, but it's not even just a race thing. It's just the fact that you want to have care. That's another trope I don't like in horror, was like the spouse always thinks the other person's paranoid and shit. And like that's because it's just, if anything, it just shows that there's cracks in the relationship already. And not to take their spouse, you know, seriously. Which goes to show, back to BlerdCon, you see so many married couples and that they sit there and you see people like uplift their husbands or their wives, you know, geek them like, oh, I'm not into this, my wife is, or I'm not into this, my husband is. And you'll sit there and see them come together as a family, and it's just like, represent what people represent your audience. Like, so do right by the audience who comes to give you their money. You know what I'm saying? There's people out there who do have stable relationships, that do have, you know, they communicate. AJ, Chris, y'all communicate. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all communicate. You know, like, y'all don't want to get to a movie be like, yo, this is dumb, because I feel like from a couple standpoint that some couple go in like, this is dumb because why can't they just talk to each other? Everybody that I know who is a couple they see movies like that and they be like, all they had to do was just talk to each other. And it's just like, you can give me a narrative where you could, because for instance, just throw this out there, not to try to take too much time, but Poltergeist. Yo, the Freelings we both see this shit. Something's wrong. Our daughter is missing. It wasn't like, oh, maybe she just ran away. No, we both are experiencing this. Let's see the family come together and experience this shit. You know what I'm saying? Or just like, you know, just go through this shit. And we need more of that, because this whole narrative of, oh, baby, you crazy. I'm single. I'm tired of it. You know what I'm saying? I wish I would get in a relationship with somebody like, man, okay, you know what? This has been fun. Hey, I need you. I saw something crawling up the wall, and I need you to understand. I
need you. Shit, nah, I feel you. But the event also honored Tony Todd with a tribute featuring fans and Candyman cosplay, a screening of his film, and his sister Monique Dupree was in attendance. Can you guys talk a little bit about that section of the convention?
Were y'all there then, AJ? Did y'all stay?
No, we didn't make it.
I didn't make
Okay,
that.
I was there at the beginning of it, and because Hilton George was well, everybody at the con. I'm gonna say this: Hilton George was pissed off about Tony Todd being left out of
Mm,
the
Yeah.
Oscar memoriam. You know what I'm saying? Like, how the fuck did you do that?
Yeah.
And so they really sent him off in a very great way. I didn't get a chance to personally meet Monique, but I was at the panel when she got up on stage and Zero Gravity introduced her, and she gave a very great tribute. She actually teared up as she was talking about it because she was just so enamored with how many people came and represented Candyman, Tony Todd's version of Candyman, and even people. She had the people who came in cosplay as Candyman come on stage with her, and she took pictures with them. And after that, they screamed Candyman. And at the end of the con, before at the closing ceremony, they did a video tribute of Tony Todd that was about like 15 minutes long. And they had another video message from Monique Dupree explaining how she got contacted by, Hilton George, because Tony Todd was supposed to have been the headliner
mm,
of BlerdCon this year. Like when they announced that, it was like, oh my God, I'm finna meet Tony fucking Todd. You know what I'm saying? And he passed away, as we all know, the day after the election last year. So that was just a bad week for everybody. And so they really sent him off
mm,
properly. They not only showed him as Candyman, they showed him in all his roles in horror. Mr.
mhm.
Bloodsport from Final Destination. The character he did in Hatchet. They played that whole
Yep.
entire scene where they sat there, and had him introduced with the main characters and what's his name? The Young Richmond and stuff like that. And they had interviews from like movies from clips of movies and stuff like that he was promoting and stuff like that, as he was talking about why he loved what he was doing and why he needed to do what he needed, why he loved what he did and why he just felt that he needed to do it and stuff like that. It was a very great tribute.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
No, it's really Tony Todd was a special person. We had him on the podcast a while back, and just even meeting him at the conventions was always just something special. And we had him on. He lived in Rhode Island. He lived down there for 5 years, and like he was talking to us just like we would hang with him. Like
Yeah.
we knew him for
Yeah.
forever. You know what I mean? And just kind of like talking about the same experiences and stuff that we loved. You know what I mean? Like if you come to Rhode Island, you have the hot wieners, like, what I mean, comes with coffee milk. And he was like, I had like five of them things. Sitting there, like, you know what I mean? And then he's like, he was just talking about how the old Italians would take care of him and like, yeah, you want a cannoli? I'm just like, when we just had that conversation, and then it was just so, it was everywhere, and we just talked about everything that he loved about like fishing was his main thing. And then like after we were done recording, we were like, Tony, we got to put something together, man, like to kind of help underprivileged kids that don't have that money and or have the time to get that experience to go fishing. We need to put something together. And he was just like, I'm down, I'm down. And then so, I mean, it just, it was around like the pandemic around that time. And so we weren't able to sit there and get everything going. And then when he passed, I was just like, oh man, Dave, we got to do something. You know what I mean? And we just were like, all right, we're gonna give it time. But we actually reached out to Monique, and so we're gonna put something together. You know what I mean, to get that going. So we'll just need a lot of help from the community to kind of get this going, because we want to kind of give tribute to Tony for being
Yeah.
here. I even reached out to the theater that he worked at, like where he first made his start, like here in Rhode Island, and I tried to get a tribute going, and I didn't get any response back. But I was just like, you know what? The thing is, we got to get something going, and kind of put out there of what Tony did for all of us. So now can
Yeah.
everyone kind of go around and kind of like give something that, I mean, that you just remembered about Tony, that how he was special about him that hit you.
No, it's funny because I was anticipating seeing him at Midsummer Scream last year.
Yeah, we were
Mm,
so
We were
close.
so close, but he didn't make it.
Yeah.
And I was so sad.
Yeah, we were super
mm,
disappointed because we didn't really start going to conventions and stuff until we started doing the In Love with Horror thing.
Mm,
And so yeah, we went to Midsummer Scream and we found out that Tony Todd was gonna be
yeah.
there. We were like, oh shit. Like we definitely got to get in the line, get the autograph, and unfortunately he
mm-hmm.
didn't make it.
Yeah.
So super disappointed about that. But man, Tony Todd, man, like dude was just so versatile and
Yeah.
so talented, from being on the movie screen to the theater into his voice acting.
I
Like he's
know.
done a lot of voice acting from, cartoons, animated features to video games. The most recent, of course, being Venom and Spider-Man 2. And I still remember when that Spider-Man 2 trailer hit, and you heard his voice come on in Venom. I was like, oh, that's Tony Todd. Like I was going crazy. Like dude was just, man, dude was a legend. Like he was so talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You done?
Yeah, go ahead. My bad. My bad.
No, I was making sure you were finished.
My
that's
bad.
all.
Okay, you go ahead.
But I mean, yeah, he's very much so a legend, and it was disappointing to see that the Oscars did leave him out of the tribute.
Yeah,
and it was funny because I was like, oh wait, is it over? Because I was expecting to see him up there because he's done so much. I think he has some crazy like 200 credits or something like that. Like he's always doing something. Like even way back in the day, I think he was on what was the show? And I can't think of the name of it. But either way, like you just never. There's never a time when he doesn't show up on screen and you're like, oh, like who is that? Because you can't. That's like he's so freaking iconic. Like even from the small things he's done. There was one movie I watched recently called Devil Row. Have y'all seen that?
What was it?
It's called Devil Row.
Devil Row.
He plays like this voodoo demon thing. It's crazy.
yeah.
I think it came out last year. Anyway, but yeah, he's just amazing. I love all.
I did want to add too, because I mentioned the video games. I know not a lot of people have played it, but the recent Indiana Jones game that came out.
Oh yeah.
And I remember when I was playing it, and I was like, Kristie, come here, you gotta look at the screen. I was like, it's Tony Todd, he's playing a character in the game. You know what I'm saying? And because nowadays, everything's realistic.
Yeah.
In video games, so it's him in the game. You know what I'm saying? And he delivers an incredible performance as one of the characters in that Indiana Jones game. But
yeah, he was definitely hyped. I was like, what is
it?
Yeah, I want to play that game, but it's only for Xbox users. So boo.
It's on a PC too. I think it's on PC. It's on PC as well. I don't know if you got a good PC or not, but you can play it on that too.
I'm gonna wait till PS5 version come out. I'll wait. But no, my first interaction with Tony Todd was actually I didn't know who he was at the time. Lean on Me played the I guess Mr. Clark's assistant.
Oh yeah.
But then my first time seeing Tony Todd pre-Candyman was Night of the Living Dead 1990. And that was my first version of Night of the Living Dead that I ever saw. So the version of Ben was Tony Todd that I saw. And so when Candyman came out, because you had Tony Todd be like this hero, and you kind of teared up at the end when you saw what happened to him, because it's like, hey, that's fucked up, and you see him as a villain. It's Candyman. For the longest time, I did not watch Candyman because their voice, it's like, oh shit. That's something they said at the con. They said that hearing his voice through those mega speakers was a whole other experience. And I was so pissed off I missed that, but that's a whole other conversation I'm gonna say for after thing. But yeah, that was my first time seeing Tony Todd was Night of the Living Dead as being, and other stuff that he's done, like being in Final Destination, even though he was like in one scene, that scene carried so much weight.
Yeah,
brought him back. In every iteration of that movie, I remember them saying like, "Oh, did you see the Tony Todd cameo?" In they said, "No, look out for the Tony Todd cameo in Final Destination 3." As soon as they go to the carnival and you hear the devil, it's like, "Oh my God, he's there!" Like Jesus Christ, he's everywhere, So like, yeah, that was an oversight on our part. No, bitch, that was just disrespectful. That's what that was. At Oscars. So.
Dave, you want to share one?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, we always talk about how like sometimes you experience something just at like a really important time in your life, and it just it just hits a certain way or it sticks with you. And for me, the first time I experienced Candyman, I was kind of blown away. I was like, it really struck something with me. I've always kind of been interested in other experiences in life than the ones I've had, right? So I'm always interested in other cultures, other communities, all that. And just like that experience in Candyman was just, for me, it was like so fascinating, and it had blended so many things I was interested in at the time. I mean, I was like, super into hip hop, and I was watching Above the Rim like on nonstop. I think I knew every word to that freaking movie. And then like and I loved horror. So, but like watching those two things, like kind of like you know, a black horror movie for me was it was like it really kind of changed things for me. So I really drew my interest even more to different things, to different culture, to you know, to different types of horror. And it was a very like I don't know, that something about Candyman just really like sticks with me today. Like this, there's like the themes in it, the historic themes. Like it talks about things that are actually of importance, and it's a slasher. It's like that's
Yeah.
crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I've that's always held a really special place in my heart, and like my own like horror history, and like kind of like how I got into different things in horror. So like Tony's always been a big like figure in horror to me, and you know, when he passed, I was like, holy shit, that really like kind of came out, it felt like it came out of nowhere. So that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really fucked me up. And a lot of people don't know that he has a lot of sci-fi credits too. Like, you know, he
Yeah.
played I don't know how many Klingons in Star Trek. And then
Yep.
what's his name? He was in the Flash. I forget which villain the Flash he was though, but he was the voice of the villain in the Flash. And I'm trying to figure out
He was
another
also
sci-
in Platoon, which like that's
Yeah.
a very like well known and renowned film. So for him to be like omitted, like not like ignored by the Oscars is kind of crazy. It doesn't make sense. Like they really messed up on that one.
Yeah,
They
they
messed up
did.
big time, not just by
Mm-hmm.
him, but other people though. But I mean, but it goes to show you. I think why a lot of people are so upset about it and why BlerdCon did what they did with it is because it it's two things. They snub their nose at horror and they snub their nose at black popular actors and stuff like that who weren't in those like pigeonholed roles that you know certain
Mm.
actors are put in, you know what I'm saying? And he was a versatile actor, and for them to just be like, oh yeah, we forgot, there's no way they can like make up for that. I don't think even they
Yeah.
put it on
No.
next, they can't. I just gonna be like, it's too late. You know what I'm saying? Like we just took this
Mm-hmm.
back. So I'm glad that BlerdCon came together, and before they announced anything dealing with next year, they gave him a proper send off. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was. Let's just say if the place was not probably if we was outside, I'm pretty sure like lighters probably went up or some shit like that. Could be a cell
Yeah.
phone, yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure lighters would have went up because they did send them off properly. So
Yeah.
That's dope. I always throw it in Dave's face because I'm a big Lakers fan. He's a Lakers fan too. And so Dave's a Celtics fan. And so that year that he was on, we ended up winning the championship. So like, so that was a special moment.
Yeah.
Nah, that was dope. So like looking back at everything on BlerdCon, it was a great time. What are some of the, you know, key events that you guys enjoyed? Like, you know what I mean, that make you look forward to next year?
Well, for me, I just look forward to like meeting up with everybody again, like
Mm-hmm.
seeing the familiar faces, and I don't know, it's something different about BlerdCon. I was saying, telling AJ like it's kind of an emotional experience. Like you can't really describe it. You can't describe the vibe. You just sit in it and enjoy it. It's just really special. It's really unique. Um, and we've been through to like festivals, cons, all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
events, and shoot, we've hosted some, and there's nothing that compares to being at BlerdCon. And so like I just look forward to being back in that element again. It's funny, like when you go home, you're like, dang, I miss it a little bit.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just a really good feeling. Even walking through the freaking vendor halls, like seeing people showcase their talent, like, dang, like this
Mm-hmm.
person did this, they made this. Like, it's just really cool to witness.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, I mean, sure, you kind of covered it. I mean, I agree with everything that you said. Just walking around, seeing all the black talent, like and celebrating that aspect from the people who you know the black authors who are there, who
Mm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
are you know showcasing their stories and their books to
Maybe some
the
books.
comic and manga artists to even the designers. There's a lot of like apparel stuff there too. There's just a lot of things that is all celebrating Black people and their talents within, you know, this nerd culture. But one of the panels, I'm surprised you didn't bring it up because he mentioned like what are some of the I know you're a big fan. I enjoyed it too. Of
Oh, the Ghost Brothers.
The Ghost Brothers
That shit was
panel.
fire.
Yeah, that was a super dope panel.
Yeah.
You know, I've only ever watched I think like one episode, but you've watched a lot
I watched
more.
all of them.
But that was a super dope panel because especially to see, I think what's interesting about seeing, you know, Black creators or even in their case, you know, semi celebrities in a way, and seeing how they are in that environment.
Yeah. They were so hyped to be.
They're more
Black
themselves.
People. Yeah.
Like I forgot what the dude's name was. Who was like, he's like, dang, he's like, this shit is different because it was their first. It was the Ghost Brothers' first time being there, and even he was like, I can like be myself. Like
yeah. And Zero Gravity, she was hosting. She's like, yeah, no code switching.
Yeah.
Needed here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
it was just dope, man. Like just like you said, the whole experience of BlerdCon is really cool, and I think walking away from it, it just made me feel even more like confident and like excited about being like a Black nerd, being a Blerd. You know what I'm saying? I was like, dang, like I got people out there. You know what I mean? So just walking away from it, it felt super dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to piggyback on what AJ just said because that's how I felt last year coming back. It rejuvenates you creatively.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I was burnt out going into BlerdCon this year. Like I was like, should I even go? Like, would this panel be even, you know, everybody come to the panel? But it's like once you get there, you get in that vibe, it's like you're coasting. It's like you're on that floater in the water with your you know, your iced tea or whatever you sipping on, you know, your Long Island iced tea, you kind of just floating through the vibes and stuff like that, you know, just like, and there's nobody arguing, there's nobody fighting, there's nobody like, you know, oh F you and this and that. Everybody's helping somebody, you know, somebody fell and hurt themselves. I found out during BlerdCon, they said like, oh, we must check in and see if that person who fell and hurt themselves okay. It's a lot of love, you know what I'm saying? Looking forward to something. I'm just looking forward to what y'all bringing next year, Dave and Brandon. Like, so I mean, I'm looking forward to next year. Like, what are y'all bringing?
What y'all bringing?
Well, that's a good question. That's the pressure right there.
I don't know. Let's see. We gotta put something together. Get it
Because I
going.
tell people all the time, like, you know, there is a community in Providence, Rhode Island. I mean, in Providence that is like ran by PVD, and y'all need to get in contact with them because I'm like, if there's any like, you know, people up there that, you know, it's a hard, y'all need to seek these guys out. So I'm like, bring y'all asses to BlerdCon and get the word of mouth out there because it's amazing. And also you guys, I don't know, it's just like Kristie said, it's an emotional experience. It's just very emotional, and I was going through the motions, you know what I'm saying? Like I got there and I'm like, you know, okay, I'm back here, and it's like, I'm not good enough to do what this person doing. I'm not good enough to do this. I'm like, but by the time I ended it, by the time I got back, I'm like, yo, I don't want to leave. I want to be with my peoples.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful. And the vendor alley, that's another thing that I was pissed off about because I had set aside a budget to go in there and just buy shit. Shit happened, and I was like, I can't buy shit. And I was like, you know, so fuck. I was like, because I went to the vendor alley. I was like, because I went through there with you, Brandon, and I was like, I can be reckless, but I do have to get back home. There was so much good shit in there. It was so much good shit in there to buy and to support and everything. And I was like, damn. And I found one comic last year. I found one comic book creator. He did the Crescent City Monsters.
Okay.
And he was a Black creator. And I think I scared his ass last year because I didn't know he was gonna be there. And I was talking to a friend, and I just so happened to turn around and saw him sitting there at the table signing something. I was like, oh shit. And I ran up to his table. He was like, and I'm like, I've been following your Instagram. He's like, okay. And I was like, I'm sorry, bro. Let me calm down. I told him my Instagram handle. He said, oh yeah, I do remember you. And I was like, yeah, I'm just glad to see you here. And I bought a copy of it. He signed it for me. And that was the best $35 I spent that entire weekend. You know what I'm saying? So
there you go.
Because that was like a Black comic creator who his entire thing was about Black people fighting monsters. and
Mm-hmm.
like I want to say Speakeasy, Louisiana, New
Yeah.
Orleans. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah, it was like Jesus, and I would love to interview him on the show one time. But anyway, you just surprised what you see there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mark, let me ask you, I know you're an avid reader. Is there any Black authors or, comic book authors or anything that you would love to see at BlerdCon that you feel like should be invited?
Rodney Barnes.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Rodney Barnes and Tanana Rav Duke, when they sat there and announced Thriller, I told them in the group chat, I'm like, if y'all don't get Tanana Rav Duke or Rodney Barnes there, I'm gonna be highly pissed off. I'm a still
He said
come,
highly.
but I'll be highly pissed off because I feel like Rodney Barnes and especially Tanana Rav Duke would be like enamored to do something like that,
Okay.
you know.
Mm.
And also I tried to get my buddy, I don't know if y'all talked to Ryan before, Ryan, oh my god, my mind went blank just then. But anyway, Ryan wrote a book. Ryan W. Kenny,
Mm.
Kiney, wrote a book called There's Something Wrong in Morton County, and that is set in the DC area. And it's about it's an anthology book. I want him to come. Let me take that back. He's been. We don't talk about.
Oh, okay.
He's
All
been,
right.
but he's just not been back lately. And
Okay.
he's in the DC area, and I was trying to meet up with him, but I think he went either prior to his book being published, and I always the two panels I did these past 2 years, I always promoted his book at the panel. Last year, I gave away a copy of the book as a door prize. And so yeah, those are three people I would like to see there. Also Sylvester Barzy,
I was gonna say him.
who
Mm.
and the dead. Hey Kristie, I was in his inbox. He sat there saying was liking the picture stuff like that. I did the so next year we'll see you, right?
We're gonna see you.
And he was like, I don't know, man. I was like, no, we're gonna see you because it worked on me, so surely it should work on him. You know what I'm saying? So
Mark, you
I'm
gotta
like,
get on the team over there, start getting the promotion, get everybody over there. That's what you need to do.
listen, I have to because when we all get together, y'all, we are unstoppable. We
Mm-hmm.
are loud as hell, and I'm talking about in a good way. We are loud, proud, and we sit there and make people excited about horror in general. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And I just love like when Kristie and Angel y'all came on the scene. I was like, yes, you know, like yeah. AJ comes with it hard, Kristie. It's like y'all bad cop, good cop sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
but y'all bring what we need into the community. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
some people are unapproachable, and y'all are very approachable. Even though I I disagree with AJ sometimes, but it's not like I'm not gonna sit there and be like, I'm not gonna be like, fuck him. I don't know him. I don't know. It was like, no, AJ, I don't know what AJ does because usually sometimes with AJ, I'm like, you know what? You always bring up something that I don't look at. I be so hyped about a movie. You be like, yeah, but it is. It's like, no, well, he's right. He's right. I get him that, but I know it's coming from a place of constructive criticism. It's not
Yeah.
hating on it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you come from the constructive way. It's just, you gotta also know how to differentiate that. But yeah, anytime I see somebody Black and they're into horror, I try to bring them in. I don't try to gatekeep or anything like that because when we do that, we create unnecessary animosity amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I always support anybody that comes in. So like I said, Sylvester has been on all these podcasts, on all
Yes.
these forums and stuff like that. He's been a very big vocal supporter. And I'm like, it's time for you to get on stage, bro.
Yeah.
So you
And
need
he's
to
a good writer.
Mm-hmm.
and he's a good writer, yeah. And I can see, I'm pretty sure he would make bank at the vendor booth. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yes. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said like do a vendor, and I said if you just have to sleep on the floor or sleep on, I would get a double king size if you need to come up here. I'm serious. Like it's just I want everybody to experience this at least once in their life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said too.
Yep.
Just come one time.
You know what needs to happen? Like just rent out an Airbnb, make a real world BlerdCon. Like
I don't trust Airbnbs though.
Nah.
I don't trust Airbnb.
Nah, you can't trust them nowadays. Not
Nah.
nowadays.
Nah. So now I want to know, can you guys name some of your favorite Black characters in horror that you feel is underrated?
Ooh. Underrated.
First.
Ooh, that's hard. Ah.
Y'all want me to go first so y'all can think on it?
Go
for me?
ahead, Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna give y'all two. One is that's an ancient. I don't want to be them. I don't be a teenager right now when I say ancient, but y'all know I go with a Belle. I know a lot of people like, well, Mark, that's I said, yeah, but some people don't know that Belle exists because some people don't even know there's a Fright Night Part 2.
Yeah.
Some people don't even know there's a Fright Night Part 2. They're like, oh, they did a sequel? Yes, not that bullshit that came to DVD back in when the remake came out. I'm talking about back in 1988. They did a sequel. So Bale, and then recently, even though he got a lot of shine, but the shine kind of died down recently. Andy from Alien Romulus.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
So
he killed that shit.
It's just the fact that
Yep.
that man ranged from different. He played 3 different types of android in that movie, and I don't think people gave him enough shine. They gave him shine, but they didn't give him enough here in the States. He got awards in London and everything, though. But no, everybody's like, oh yeah, except for us, that is. But you know,
Did you think about it?
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. I wasn't prepared.
You're terrible.
But I'm not. She know I'm not good at. I tell it in my podcast all the time. Like I'm not good at remembering stuff all the time. Like I gotta like prep my brain to like dig into the archives.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think too. Like I'm trying to. I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Well, I think it's the underrated piece.
Yeah.
That's making
or just
different.
any black character.
Can I'll throw one out there. I don't know if this would be considered underrated, but I've always been like a huge Kincaid fan from Nightmare on Elm Street. So Ken Sagos is like, yeah, I love that character, and I would actually love that he carried over from 3 to 4 too, because you know not everybody makes it into 2. So,
Dope. I like Kincaid. What is well, what's your favorite horror movie that has black characters in it?
Oh well, one that I like because I know a lot of people don't like the film, but whenever I talk about like Black Final Girls, I usually pick this film because I like the film. But Alien vs Predator, so now like you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I know not everybody's big on the AVP.
Why do you like Sonata?
Why?
She teamed up with the Predator.
Is it because
Come on, she teamed up with the Predator. She teamed up with the Predator and was whooping the alien.
Okay.
Come on now.
Okay, I mean, she wasn't doing that much.
What? That much.
See, this is what I like right here. This is what I like right here. Why you like her? Why is she your favorite? What about you, Dave?
Anyway.
You said Kincaid.
Yeah, Kincaid. And you know, another one I just thought of too. Kelly Rowland's character in Freddy vs. Jason. I kind of like that character. She's like, to me, I was glad she lasted as long as she did, and she had a few jabs at Freddy towards the end. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the character.
No, I liked her too, Dave. I liked her too. And I want to say one thing about that character. When she first started, at the beginning of the movie, you could tell she was struggling with the acting a little bit. But by the time she got to her 3rd or 4th scene, she was in there.
Yeah.
She was in there. She got to the high school. It was like, okay, we got you. Okay, you're there with us now. Okay, we get it.
Nah, that shit is crazy. But for me, it has to be Roger from Night of the Demons, Alvin Alexis. So I think it's just he just kind of like puts it just how we would handle it in the movie. Like, fuck this, I'm up out of here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're good.
Right.
It was funny.
They dude who say that, you know, oh, he was a coward. I'm like, no, that's what somebody in that situation is supposed to do.
That's not we out of here. We up out of here.
The only realistic character right there.
That's what I mean. But it was funny because me and Dave ran up on him at the convention. He was just sitting there walking, and then I was like, "Yo, Roger, you ain't gonna get me." He turned around. But so that's the thing, man. It's just like true. That's how it is. If I would be. If I was in a house like that, I'm up out of there.
Yeah,
I ain't got time for that shit. But Dave, you want to close us out?
Yeah. All right. Well, first, I just want to say, AJ, Kristie, Mark, thank you guys all so much for being on the show. This was a really like fun and also I think like actually informative episode, and a good discussion. I think it's an important discussion. It's unfortunate that BlerdCon just happens once a year, and then these conversations don't carry over all the time. So hopefully these are conversations that continue, and that people, creative minds and all that, can actually like hear these things and start to think about how they can integrate these things into their work, and just not be afraid to make authentic and genuine characters and not feel like you have to check boxes like Mark had said earlier. So I want to thank you guys all for being here. Just really quick, just do a rundown. AJ, we'll start with you, Kristie, then Mark. Just tell people where to follow you guys on all the social medias, and if you guys have anything else you want to mention, now's the time.
All right, yeah. So again, we're AJ and Kristie with In Love with Horror. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitter.
We're barely on TikTok, but yeah.
But I mean, we got one.
We got one, yeah.
But you can just search
In Love with Horror.
Yeah, you can just search In Love with Horror on any of those platforms. You can find us. We also post a lot of our reviews and other content on
our website,
podcasts, and our website as well. So we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to listen while you're driving. And then, of course, we have our website as well, inlovewithhorror.com, where Kristie does written reviews. And look, and she is a beast writer, y'all. Like,
nice.
I'm saying right now, my wife is a monster when she's writing. So, hey, look, you are. I got to talk you up. Look, she can write like crazy. So we got the written reviews on the website if you like to read, get a little more details, inlovewithhorror.com. She also writes for some other blogs as well.
I do.
But yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
Well, yeah, I also write on horrormovieblog.com and Night Tide magazine. And you can follow me on Blue Sky as well at Love Horror Queen, or ours is also In Love with Horror on Blue Sky as well.
Oh, okay. For me, you guys can find me on my podcast, Midnight Social Distortion. You also can find me as 1/6. I don't know how that works, of Scream Kings. Also, Kristie is part of the miniseries Scream Queens that's ongoing right now. So, check her out on there, where we have other Black female content creators throughout the month of March. Oh, yeah. And also another thing me and Kristie are on, we have a book club. Do Butler, Do Better. And we're currently reading The House, what's it called?
Of Bone and Rain.
Of The House of Bone and Rain by Gabino Iglesias. Girl, I kept putting it in Gabriel Iglesias, and folks were like, but you can find us on there on Fable. You can join us on Fable with that. Also, you can find me on Blue Sky, Marco Estes, MSD. You can find me on Twitter, The Anti-Critic, but I'm rarely on there anymore because Elon Musk sucks. Also find me on my main base of operations, Instagram, Marco Estes or Midnight Social Distortion. And I do also have a TikTok that I rarely use, Marco Estes as well. And I also write for Horror Movie Blog, Black Gay Horror Blurb. My next piece will be at the end of this month on Horror Movie Blog. Just look for
Okay. All right.
There you go.
That's pretty much it.
All right. And you did your own recap of BlerdCon as well, so people can check that out on your podcast. So you can get kind of your firsthand view of the events and the things that you were excited about. So I enjoyed checking that out. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Hope you enjoyed hearing about BlerdCon, and make sure you're following everybody on social media and YouTube and all that good stuff. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
You get tickets. Mark, everybody get their tickets now. Hurry up. Tell them.
Tickets. Get those tickets.
Tickets.
Yes.
I can get them the day you show up. Show up, buy your tickets. Just make sure you got message there.
Hey.
Night.
All right. Good night, everybody.
All right. Thank y'all.